Godzilla vs. King Kong is finally here. After multiple delays, multiple changes in release, and just whatever you could imagine, we're finally arrived at this moment where we get to see two titans face off against each other. This is a spoiler-free review, but there will be clips of the trailer in here, so if you're a person who doesn't like to see the trailer, maybe click off this video and come back to it. But other than that, there will be no spoilers. I hadn't seen Godzilla, King of Monsters, nor had I seen the King Kong Skull Island or Kong Skull Island, but I feel like this movie explained itself well, and having been someone who's seen the old movies, I was kind of already in the know of what these characters are and do. You definitely don't need to know the story going into it. It explains it pretty decently, and let's be fair, most people are watching this movie for the fight scenes. As someone who hadn't seen the other movies, the story did make sense, so I assume from the perspective of someone who really cares about the lore and the stories of these creatures, I think it'll definitely make sense, and I think you'll be happy with the story. Now, for the people who are like me, who just watched for the fight scenes and watched for the action, it definitely delivers on that. Godzilla and King Kong fight multiple times throughout this movie. There's some twists and turns here and there with how they go down. For the most part, it's very interesting. The way they're put up against each other, I actually really did like. They aren't just thrown together, oh, fight. There was a purpose for them to be fighting against each other. It made sense in my mind. With this led to some pretty cool effects, pretty realistic looking for what it is. I mean, obviously, it's never gonna look realistic, but you get what I'm trying to say. It looks like it could be a plausible thing that could happen. Not saying you're looking for plausibility, but it's nice to have effects that don't look silly, like the old movies. So I was going into this after having seen the old Godzilla vs. King Kong way back in the day, and that movie was very fun. I was wanting a movie that was very fun just like the original, and sure enough, this movie delivered. There's a lot of good jokes in here from the characters, so that made it interesting, but more so, there's a lot of character within Godzilla and Kong. The people who made this movie did such a good job at giving them each their own personality and not making them just bland monsters that fight and punch things. It was very interesting because they had character and comedy, and all around were interesting to watch. They weren't just blank slates that punched each other in the face. The human conflict aspect of it, not that many people are really into that, was pretty decent. I didn't find it to be too boring or too much of a stretch. I think it made a good amount of sense, and I think the actors did a good job at portraying it. There were a couple of people in there who basically stole the show. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say who they are for spoiler purposes, but they definitely made the human aspect of this movie so much better. On a side comment, since all of you know Millie Bobby Brown is in this movie, I'll just say it's nice to see her getting other roles that don't necessarily have anything to do with her character in Stranger Things. I think she's a strong actress who has a lot to do left in her career, and I'm excited to see where she goes next. I'm also a fan with how they intertwine the storyline. I mentioned earlier that Kong and Godzilla don't just fight for no reason. They fight because they're pitted against each other in a way that makes sense. It's a logical, story-driven reason for them to fight. The way those timelines intersected was so well done that these fight scenes made 100% sense. Like I said before, it wasn't just throwing them in an arena, it was throwing them into a situation that made sense to push the story forward with the bad guys and the good guys. Obviously, this movie goes exactly how you'd expect. I won't say much more than that, but let me just say that if you're making a guess about something that's gonna happen, it's most likely in the movie. It's incredibly predictable, but truthfully, when you're just here to watch the fights, it doesn't detract from the experience whatsoever. And I think, if anything, it makes it more fun to watch because you're trying to guess what happens next, and that's an entertaining thing to do. I normally don't like talking through movies, but this one was different. It felt like I could talk through it without getting lost, and if anything, it made the experience that much more enjoyable. It felt more like you were watching a WWE match than watching a serious movie that's trying to be good. This movie and the people who made it knew what it was and knew what they wanted it to be, and I think that's what makes it so much better. Rather than trying to overcomplicate things, they gave fans what they wanted and they gave audiences what they wanted, and I think that's why this movie was so good. An extra thing that I really enjoyed about this movie, which really upped the quality of it for me, was the amount of color used in this. I'm a big fan of color. My favorite horror movie and one of my favorite movies in general is Suspiria, and I love it because Dario Argento is not afraid to show color and is not afraid to utilize color. And I feel like this movie did such a good job at going overboard with the color. You see from the get-go, the poster has red and blue, separating King Kong into red and Godzilla into blue, and you see that throughout the entire movie as well. But on top of that, you see many scenes with just neon lights, neon signs, and it's just beautiful to watch. On the topic of beauty, the cinematography in this movie is well done. I don't necessarily understand how cinematography is done when it comes to CGI, but overall it was such an impressive feat to have been made, especially considering a lot of this movie is CGI. The cinematography just is that much more impressive to me. Now, having seen the end of the movie, I don't know where it's going to go next, but I'm very excited for where it could go. I have theories of my own that I won't discuss now, but maybe in a future video if you'd like to see it. I'll definitely say there's some twists in here that I didn't expect and they were pleasant surprises, so overall, it's a great viewing experience. I don't recommend going to the theater right now to see this movie because obviously you know everything going on, but definitely if you have HBO Max, I highly recommend watching this movie before it leaves sometime later this April. It was an enjoyable watch, and if you're there just for the fight scenes, it's that much better. Don't take it seriously is all I'm gonna say. So overall, I highly recommend this movie. I would give this movie 3.5 stars just because it was entertaining, but it didn't leave a lasting impact on me. Come a month from now, I don't know if I'd be able to tell you what happened in this movie apart from a lizard punched a monkey, but overall, I really did enjoy it. If you would like me to do a more thorough, in-depth view of this a couple months from now, let me know down in the comments down below, and I'll maybe think about doing it. This is the first time I've done a spoiler-free review, so if you liked it, do leave a like, and also subscribe if you're new. I plan to make different types of videos on this channel to show my love of film, and hopefully this gives you a little touch into what this movie was. Let me know what you think down below, and remember to keep spoilers to a minimum, because I don't want people to get this movie ruined for them, because obviously, ruining movies for others is never nice. But yeah, that's all I got for today. I'll see you all later. Bye.